Welcome to Mastering CS Candid Leader Insights, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of customer success with industry leaders. I'm your host, Irina Cismas, and today's guest is Sara Vera-Cruz, Customer Cares and Success Manager at CargoFive. Sara, welcome
Hello.
and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for the invitation.
I did a bit of research and I noticed that you've done quite a lot of things. You've went into logistics, into sales, into procurement. What made you jump into customer success and what keeps you hooked?
Okay, good question. Yeah, basically, when I start working with 21 years old, I started in customer service and I already knew that I was good with customers. So all the things regarding relationship, regarding how to get the trust from the customers and so on. So I feel like okay, maybe I have some advantage regarding how can I relate or get the trust from the customers. So yeah, early stage, I know that could be a good path. And then we life
Like heaven.
yeah, life was happening. And yes, I had an invitation or opportunity to go to Brazil. And in Brazil, basically, I also stayed in customer service, but as a coordinator. So I was coordinating of 8 people and it was very challenging because I had to meet expectations of different cultures. So it's like Brazilians. You might say, okay, Brazil and Portugal, you have the same language. Yes, but it's very different regarding culture. So it was very challenging to understand how could I be a better coordinator, how can I help my customers and then also the team. So it was very challenging, and yeah, I could say okay, I can help again the customers indeed, and also I can manage a team. I can see that people trust in me for personal issues if made, or even for the professional pet, or very transparency. So I like to be transparency just for also for the customer and then for my team. And then of course I came back to Portugal and I had opportunity as well to work in procurement and also sales. And I don't know, but for me, procurement and sales is very, it's like it's not the same, but the goal is the same. It's like, for example, for procurement, you want to reduce costs, and for sale, you want to increase the outcome. So you need to negotiate in both, right? And I'm a little upset with I'm a little freaky with negotiation. I don't know. I really like to negotiate. So I knew for sure, okay, I could be a good salesperson because I like to negotiate. I had the customer service background that allow me to get the trust more easily, maybe with the customer. So I try, okay, ally both, it could be a good fit. So in procurement and also in sales, I could say that the negotiation part was a nice outcome and very positive. And then I stayed in sales for a while, doing all the funnels. So I was SDR, like cold calling and try to reach out meetings. And I was very focused on the goal. I always focused on the goal. So basically, if I have a goal, I don't know, to get 16 meetings, I will jump for the goal and I need to get the goal. Again, very freaky. So yes, basically I start with SDR, cold calling, then I jump to consultant, then I jump to account executive, and always with the metrics, always keeping negotiation as a focus point, and then the trust of the customer. And then I was like wondering, I don't know, maybe in 5 years ago, okay, this is a new thing called customer success. I don't know a little, I don't know so much regarding this because I was already key account manager. So I thought, okay, it's quite the same, but it's not the same. In sales, I was ready to be a farmer. I was a little tired to hunt and to just be searching for new opportunities. And I was very curious to understand how could I expand the partnership with in-house customers. And yeah, my path in customer success starts, and yeah, more or less was the process.
While you are sharing your journey, several questions popped up, and You mentioned the fact that procurement and sales are similar in some ways, and the common glue is the negotiation part. And then you also, it was so negotiation is one skill or trait that you gain from that background. Besides this, you also mentioned that you were in sales, but you moved from the hunter profile to the farmer one. And this basically helped you and created that foundation that you need in customer success. I'm now curious. How do you use those skills in your day-to-day role, the negotiation? Does it help you in the relationship with your customers? And how do you negotiate with them? And what else besides the farmer traits do you use from your sales profile?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, in my perspective, customer success, you need to know how to negotiate. You are always negotiating with the customer, always. Or for expand to add-ons or something like that, or for example to renewals. But also in the adoption phase, you need to negotiate. For example, if you have a customer with hundreds of requirements, you need to negotiate. You need to balance and say, okay, you want 100, but I can give you 15 right now. What could we work with that? So I think it's very essential to know how to negotiate in customer success, and also to have the farmer intuition or the farmer soft skill that you get from customer service, all that kind of areas. So it's a combination between customer service and then sales for me, in of course in the way that if you are working as a customer success, owning the full process from onboarding to renewal. Because in some companies they divided, like customer success, you own the onboarding and adoption, and then the growth and renewal pass directly to the sales. Yeah, if you are owning all the funnel of customer success, definitely you need to have both. Because of course you have to, for me it makes sense, like, oh, customer success, you need to be very proactive. Yes, of course we need to be proactive. Also sales, they need to be proactive. But then you need to react very quickly if you cannot be proactive. And that you're going to get that skill with customer success, like dealing daily with the customers. That's why in this case in CargoFive, in my team, we unified, or basically we put in the same department customer care. So the relationship between customer care and customer success is not so the role is not the same, but we are in the same team in order to everyone knows everything about the customers. They know how they are dealing, the tier, the pain points, the requirements, all that kind of things, in order to have just one point of communication and not escalating with different teams and so on. So yeah, and right now is working.
I want to dive deep into this because I know that in this moment you are leading both units, customer care and success. And I'm curious, what's the setup and how do those teams work together? But first, before we go into the team structure and setup, tell me what does your role and what are your roles and responsibilities? Because we start from you as a head of. So what does it mean that you are managing customer care and the success? I think you touch upon a bit on this. So basically, you are responsible for the whole user journey from the moment they are signing up until they are offboarding. Is that correct?
Yes.
And does this role starts in sales? Do you also how do you work together with the sales from your perspective? Yes, how's the process and setup at CargoFive?
Yes, so basically we have the sales as a different department, but the handover of information need to be very detailed. So sales, they need to give us information regarding the company, how was the trial, if there was a trial, if they are jumping in already with some requirements or expectations, what is the aim to contract our service, our platform, in order to measure, of course, the outcome and the success of the customer. So basically, sales has a very key, important, how you say it, role at the beginning of the customer journey. So basically, with that information, we're going to start the setup. So then customer care will do the setup of the account. So, all the things, users and preferences and all that kind of things. And then we start the onboarding after the kickoff call. So we try to do a kickoff call before some demo or something like that. Why? Because we need to meet the person in charge and understand the expectations and also be very transparent. Okay, you are what we do, or you understand what kind of usage can you have with our platform, align with the customer, the goal, the aim, and what we can achieve during the first year, the cycle, and then work. So basically, it's like a setup, and then you have the kickoff call. Then we start with the demo, and then basically you have the customer journey, like onboarding, adoption, growth, renewal, offboarding, if it's the case. And customer care has a very key job in a sense that they are with they are talking with customers all day. They understand the type of errors that we are having on the platform, if we have some delay, if we have a lot of requirements for a specific update of a tool or something like that. So all that feedback, that is inbound feedback, we may say, they share with customer success team. So
Okay.
we know, for example, at the end of the week, I know if my customer is having a lot of doubts of doing something on the platform. And with that information, I can go to the customer and I can proactive say, okay, do we need to meet? Do you need some playbook, some video call, whatever? So we like to get this relationship very close between the departments. Of course, there are other things that customer care help us to do regarding help centers, regarding articles, regarding dashboards. So these kind of things, they all are helping as well customer success in order to get the full image of the customers. Of course, active customers, active users. Then you have the dormant ones or the ones that are ghosting. And in that way, you need to approach differently.
Do you have a mixed CS strategy, high touch with low touch? Or what did you deploy across your customer portfolio?
Yeah, we try to have that, like high touch, medium touch, low touch. However, it also depends of the goals of the company. For example, if you are having a year, or if you have a OKR focus on, I don't know, activate users in the platform, maybe not all, but mostly all the accounts who will need to be high touch. So we always try to be aligned with the company goals per quarter or something like that. And then we're going to work with that in order to achieve that goal. So it's very dynamic. So we have a base, okay, tier one, high touch, tier two, medium, tier three, low touch. But at the end of the day, it's very hard for us because we feel like we should give to the customers the same treatment. So in the way that you have, for example, you have customers, I don't know, 3 years working with our platform, we are tier three, but in the same way you have a relationship already. It's a close relationship, so you don't want to just put on the box, okay, now I'm not going to talk with you once in a month. So it's always depends, yeah. Of course, you need to balance, and you need to be okay to set like a line in order to have some orientation. Of course, could change, could be dynamic.
I'm curious. Whenever you are joining a new company, or not necessarily when you first joined CargoFive, what was the first thing that you did to start shaping the customer strategy? Let's call it customer strategy because it's touched multiple things. What did you need in order to start building this part?
I think the beginning is always the same, no matter what kind of role you're going to have on a company. So, first of all, you need to understand the business model. You need to understand how many customers do you have, understand also the background of the company, like to understand how they are growing or not. Also of course, the metrics like NRR, churn, all that kind of things also is important just to guide you in order to understand what is tangible or not in the new strategies that you're going to put ahead. But I think firstly is the fundamental is like to understand the business. Then you also need to talk with the team to understand what they are doing, what is working and what is not working. Because sometimes I think there is a sense when you start in a new company just to say, okay, everything is wrong. But no, there are things that they are doing in all the companies. There are things that are working, and maybe that's not going to be the focus point right now. So you don't need to change that. It's working. So you need to see what are the pain points and where you need to add value. So I think first you need to have that base in order to jump and start to create a strategy. For example, defining KPIs, defining the health score, how you going to, what are the metrics that you're going to put in on the health score in order to have it accurate, feedback of the customers, so all that kind of things. So yeah.
You mentioned a bit about the data. You mentioned NRR. You mentioned about churn. I'm curious, which dashboards or reports do you absolutely need to have in front of you to feel like you are on top of customer health? How do you slice and dice the data? In which format and type of metrics to make sure that you have a clean overview?
Yeah, we use a lot, but the base is to have a good CRM, definitely, that is a base. And
And
then to have,
I think it's more important to have the good data in a CRM because
well,
having a
yeah,
tool and having a CRM, it might not be enough. So
yeah,
the data in it, I think it's very important. But
yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
we assume already when you have a CRM, we are assuming already that the data is going to be there. But yeah, you are touching in the pain point, of course, and we have it. So basically, we are working right now with the CRM, and it's impossible for you to connect all the tools that you work via API, for example, and just have all the data there. It's impossible. So basically, we try to manage like with different tools to create like a workflow that automatically get all the data inside the CRM. And then we can have the full image regarding the usage of the customer, the number of tickets they are performing, the feedback, and so on. So right now it's how we are working. And of course, it's mandatory for me to have a tool where I can measure like the percentage of retention that I have from a customer. So registered users versus the active users, for example, understand how many dormants do you have or inactive users, the searches that they are performing, relating with the previous weeks to understand if it's something flat, if it's increasing or not. So all that kind of things, yeah, of course, we
okay,
are
okay.
always focused on that. And also to measure expansion if you are working, for example, if you are, and also the customer journey, because if you have a customer that is with the health score is positive, the feedback is positive, and then you can see that the activity in the platform is increasing, automatically it's a good opportunity to move this customer to a growth phase and maybe have a case study and stuff like that. And of course, a good opportunity or to upsell or to start creating a proposal for a renewal based on the increase of the activity. And then also at the same stage to understand if we are achieving the fundamental goal of
Mhm.
why they are hiring CargoFive.
I know, but not because I've worked in the industry, but I know that retention is always a pain point in logistics. Is it the same for you? And what's been the hardest part?
It's different because we are in logistics, but we are like not a CRM, but we are like a booking.com for freight forwarders. So basically, we centralize all and they can search with a better speed all the opportunities. So it's different because when you say the retention in logistics, you are mentioned that because you have thousands of freight forwarders around the world, and today a customer going to close a deal with you because you are maybe shippier, and then the next month will close with me because I'm shippier, for example. So
Mhm,
it's very dynamic, but that will not impact directly CargoFive
mhm.
because we are not doing that. What we are doing is centralize all the procurement of the customers and then for them to quote faster in the platform. So yeah, we don't see that. What can impact directly to us is the fluctuations of the market. For example,
Okay.
imagine if there is a drop of international trade of, for example, the sanctions of Russia that we have, or the inflection of Trump, and so on. All that kind of things that impact directly the international trade, automatically going to impact the freight forward. So if the business is dropping, automatically the investment that they can have for this kind of tools will drop as well. So yeah, that's there is the problem. So we need to understand very well how is the market, how is it affecting the customers, and how can we help them in order to stay with us.
But from onboarding to, if it's not retention, for sure, from onboarding to offboarding, it's a long road. Where do you
Mhm.
usually the biggest bump, and how do you handle them? So from the moment they are onboarded until they decided to drop, along this journey, where are the biggest bumps? Or what's the biggest challenge that your team is facing? In which phase?
For the churn customers.
Necessarily for the churn, what's the biggest challenge? Is it on adoption? Is it on the onboard? Is it on the adoption? Is it on creating more? Is it on the expansion side? I'm curious, what's the trickiest part for your team?
Yeah, right now I would say maybe adoption,
Okay,
because the onboarding we are good. We have a time to value under the 30 days, so
awesome.
it's a good metric. However, on the adoption phase, I think we stay with the customers a long time in that phase. So we are basically we create a new strategy and we put like timelines for each stage adoption. They cannot be here more than days or months. And we are focused on the metrics. So what we need to achieve with those accounts in order to jump to growth. And before we were like very focused on the renewal, and I think a lot of customers success managers they have the same, like you are always, because and this is something maybe the area of customer success they need to change a little bit, because we put always the NRR as the number one metric, so people get some, I don't say obsessed, or I don't say like very into that, but always they are always looking for churn, upselling, downselling, how can I have a good retention rate. And with that you're going to be very focused on the renewals. If it's up to 3 months to renewal, you're going to be there, and then you don't have time to see the adoption because the customers in adoption already are moved to renewal. So yeah, right now we are dividing very well its structure, also because we changed the CRM and the adoption phase. Yeah, we need to understand, for example, if the customer is dropping, we need to go fast and to understand what are the pain points. Otherwise, we're going to not lose the customer, but at least the opportunity to grow that account. So yeah, I would say adoption.
You mentioned that you tweak a bit the strategy in line with, okay, making sure that you cover this adoption part. But besides that, And because we are also entering Q4 and it's almost end of the year somehow, what's the initiative you are most excited to drive next year? What are you planning for next year for your team besides making sure that you crack the adoption phase?
We are expanding the team as well. So that's a good sign and it's something exciting.
I'm going to make sure that everybody who is interested in a CS role will hit you with a message, connect with you on LinkedIn to make sure.
Of course. But yeah, we are expanding right now. And of course, what we need to be focused or maybe improve for the next year is to get all the data. It's a little picky, but it's all the activities that you are having with the customer need to be visible to all the company. Because one thing that we want to start doing, we already are doing, but need to improve a little bit, is to connect all the company with customer success in the sense like they need all the company need to understand if the customer A is, I don't know, the value is 20,000 per year and they have four open requirements and they are reporting one error per quarter, I don't know, something
Yeah.
like that. And that needs to be shared to all the departments, operations, development, even sales in a sense. That is something that we need to work in customer success in order to, for each stage, we have the data and we start to measure the data in order to share the data, but relevant data, of course, and filter already with the other teams. So we want to start performing more meetings with, for example, product team to measure requirements or roadmap, also the dev team to understand how many, for example, to calculate the time that we are spending to have a resolution of a ticket or something like that. So all these more in department matters we need to fulfill. And of course, that will impact directly the customers. So you may say, oh, but that is not for the customer, is for the customer. Because if all the team, and when I say team is like company, is customer centric, automatically the customer will feel that as well. So the impact is going to be positive. So yeah.
Sarah, I have one last question for you.
Mhm.
And it's actually for the people who are listening or watching us. If someone's just starting out in customer success, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Piece of advice. It's important to understand the personas that you have inside the customers. Do not assume that if you are working in SaaS and if you have a good product that all the customers will understand how it works. It's not going to happen. You will have Gen Z working with your platform, you will have baby boomers, you have millennials, and each of the generations, and then also personas, not to generalize, but personas, they work differently. And I can see that. I have different personas, and if I treat all as high tech or assume that they understand what I'm sharing, I could lose the customer. So I think it's very important. Once again, customer centric, understand who is on the other side, just be on the shoes of the customer and understand that the customer journey, or if you develop some tool that you need to click once, that your customer maybe will click twice. And it's okay, it's the way that they are working. So yeah, I think it's my advice.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your insights with us today. And a big thank you to all our listeners. Until next time, stay
Thank
safe
you.
and keep mastering customer success.